Leadoff batter always gets on base. Michael Herklots, the founder and partner and proprietor at Ferio, Tego. Really grateful that you take the time to sit with us to start PCA 2025.
This is the second time, right? This is a
Yeah,
tradition.
you were the leadoff last year.
This is great.
I
I was excited walking in today.
We got to keep this up.
I love it.
As long as we can. This is a great privilege for us. Thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Since we last spoke, there's been an addition to the Boveda for my humidor family, which I'd like to point out at the beginning of the interview.
It's a good
Michael
one.
Herklots, that is a beautiful photo. It's a beautiful canvas. It's worked out. So grateful and really deserved because you've become a unifier in the industry. A few weeks ago on your social, which I follow, I have to be one of your biggest fans with all my likes and shares and all that. But you talked at length about connection, the value of relationships, the people, the legacy. It's a part of your Ferio Tego website. This theme for 2025 PCA for me is connection, the stories behind connection. And I'm going to connect with this.
That's the Summa.
So you want to talk about this and then go off a riff
Sure.
on, because you're a musician, you can just go on a solo while I get this lighted.
So last year when we were together, we lit up Ferio Tego. You had the Elegancia.
I did.
The Elegancia is one of a pair of annual limited releases that we do under Ferio Tego, Elegancia and Generoso. And those two blends are very, very different from one another, but they share a similar style and through line, this real creamy, mouth-fillingly full body. Elegancia skewing, as you may recall last year, very elegant, creamy, nutty, bready, almost creme brulee-like. And the Generoso, which I'll bring you, is a little spicier and earthier. Summa in Latin is a synthesis. And it's meant to be sort of emblematic of a body of work. And that's really what this blend is. It's not just a synthesis of Elegancia and Generoso, but more importantly, the blend is intended to be emblematic of kind of where we are to date, where Ferio Tego is to date, and also where I am to date as a blender. As an artist, you want your work to evolve. You want the song that you're writing in the moment to be a reflection of a moment in time and space. And of course, if an artist is always evolving themselves as an individual, then the art should as well. And so Summa is the moment in which it was created, which is now about 18 months ago, but it's the latest core blend. And it is... it's rich, it's fudgy, it's decadent.
It is fudgy.
It's so fudgy.
Dude.
So you're
Fudgy's
smoking
a
it.
great word.
You're smoking it in the Torpedo. I'm smoking it in the Corona Gorda. This was Cigar Aficionado's top 25 this year, which is a huge win for us as a new brand. But this is, when I think about Elegancia and Generoso, those two blends are very specific. They're very nuanced. I'm so proud of them. And I think about it a lot like wine tastings, where sometimes you taste these most intricate and incredible white burgundies, and then you taste these amazing cabs or Bordeaux blends, and then like when it's all over, sometimes you just like want a really good zin, and you want to stop talking about it. And for me, that's this blend. This blend is just rich from the beginning. It's inviting. It's not powerful, but it's rich.
It's flavorful.
From the first puff.
It's the moment that, because you and I riffed on this last time we spoke on camera, and it was the effortless mouthful of smoke. And what that does to sort of blow up your palate, and what just happened when I took that first full...
I heard what happened. You went,
Oh,
that's
did
the
I
best.
moan?
It's the best. Maybe a grunt, a moan. I don't know what you'd call it, but that to me is the
One
greatest.
man's grunt is another man's moan.
But it's the best compliment you could possibly have.
No, I
you
did
know?
that last year.
And especially this early, as a new brand, when you're lighting up a new blend from a brand you already love, you are inclined to love it before you light it. However, when you are approaching a blend or particularly a brand for the first time, you're inclined to be more skeptical. And that's just human nature. But that puts the pressure on us to make sure that we are delivering something memorable.
No, this is memorable.
From the first puff.
Yeah.
And I think we've done that with Elegancia, Generoso, and certainly with Suma. The moment you light it, it's like the opening lick of Sweet Child of Mine. There's something that as soon as it starts, you're like, I'm in. I don't know what's going to happen, but there's something happening here, and I want to see it through to the end.
What it is not exactly clear.
But there's a hook. There's something that compels you to want to stay with this because this is like something that you haven't heard before. And it's important for us.
I love that. That's a great analogy. I love the music analogy. You started anew with Ferio Tego 4 years, or what year are we in now?
We launched in market in the fall of 21.
So 21.
So we're 3 and change.
3 and change
in market.
So year one, how many? I mean, is this the way to talk about it, or is this even relevant? Year one, how many stores?
So it's not a fair.
Go there. This is what I want. I want it where
Ferio
I want you to.
Tego is a one-of-one story. We are a 3-year-old business with a 3-year-old flagship brand. But within our portfolio, we also have a brand called the Timeless Collection, which is now 12 years old, and a brand called the Metropolitan Selection, which is 30 years old.
And there's a fourth one.
Well, those are the 3 in market.
Okay.
And we also own Epoca, we own Ancora, which is an accessories business. But if you just look at the cigar business in market today, Ferio Tego, 3 years old, as new as our company is our flagship brand. You have the Timeless Collection, 12 years old. Metropolitan Selection, 30 years old. So when we started, we already had customers, both consumers and retailers, who already loved our brands and depended on them. And so when we launched with a pre-existing audience. To add to that, we didn't launch as Ferio Tego banging on doors one shop at a time. We launched in partnership with Davidoff USA, the global luxury leader in premium cigars, as our distribution partner in the United States. So again, it wasn't Brendan and Michael banging on doors. It was the full force of Davidoff USA's sales team banging on doors. And so when you look at our first 6 months in market, we had more stores carrying Ferio Tego than some brands that are 10 years old. So I don't look at our success.
Yeah, you can't compare it properly with a startup brand because of the
correct
massive
so that part's one of
advantage.
One. But when I look at the way Ferio Tego's presence in store is growing as an overall percentage of success, that to me is a very important measurement. When I look at new stores that are just coming on board now, those are stores that we've earned, not stores that perhaps we inherited because of the familiarity with Timeless and Metropolitan. And of course, there's also fall off. You have people that come in because we're new, and for whatever reason it does or doesn't work, and they may fall off. So to me, we're kind of hitting that magic moment where I'm not counting our business partners like we count inventory. It's just looking at where are we winning, who's reordering, and what does that mean relative to their consumers as far as who's really connecting with our brand in a meaningful way. And really that's what it's about. If you think of the brands you love, the bands you love, it's not about revenue. It's something that you connect with on a much deeper level. the music that you select when you get in your car in the morning is so intentional and so meaningful. You don't audition a new band to go into your rotation when you get in your car. You're listening to something deliberately. And I think that's very true when you reach into your humidor for something to meet a moment.
No.
It's not the moment to audition. It's the moment to go to the thing that you know exactly what it's going to do for you.
It connects you with a part of yourself.
Yeah.
It happened at the Cigar. I was at Cigar Jones the other day, and I walked in. I sat down with Bob. Bob's a pilot for FedEx, a lovely guy. And Bob says, tonight, U.S. Bank Stadium, AC/DC. And he and his wife, now Bob's in his 50s, late 40s, early 50s. They're going to AC/DC. They put out $750 a ticket to sit in the front section at AC/DC, and they're off their rockers. My choir director used to play bass in Prince's band, and he's dropping videos from AC/DC. I got all these contemporaries and all these people around that are having this unifying moment.
But isn't that not everyone looks the same, not everyone acts the same, but you can still all love the same.
I mean, you can imagine what the crowd looked like.
Totally. But it's not unlike this room. You know, there's people walking around in suits, there's people walking around in t-shirts, there's people covered in tattoos, there's people covered in pinstripes, you have beards down to people's ankles, you have people clean shaven, you have everything that exists in the world exists in this room, and probably in that AC/DC concert too.
When you get questions all the time, what's up with the suits? And we talked about it before we started, and let's riff on that for a minute, just because my attitude's simple. Who cares?
Well, anyone asking what's the deal with the suit is probably someone who's uncomfortable in one, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Right? I don't wear black. I don't own a black garment at all. I don't like it. I don't feel comfortable in it. Black jeans, black t-shirt, black suit. It's not for me. But I don't judge other people who wear black, because clearly that's them.
Mm-hmm.
There's what we choose to enjoy and to represent ourselves, whether it's the clothes we wear, the music we listen to, the car we drive, the cigar that we enjoy,
the food we eat.
It's all emblematic of our personality and the things that move us and the things that are meaningful to us. And so I'm in a suit, and my best friend has a beard down to here and is covered in tattoos, and he was on the road with Tommy Lee. We're best friends. He was my best man, I was his best man. If you look at us next to each other, you would never think in a million years that we know each other. He's my brother, but that's because we both share deeper affection for family and for each other's family and for music and for life, and we've grown up together, and so that makes us closer. And the fact that he's covered in tats and earrings and a beard down to here, and I'm not, has nothing to do with how much we love each other and how close we are. And the same is true in this room, and the same is true for our customers. When I talk to people, and I even look in our social media, and you see people who are resonating with Ferio Tego. I was just in Florida 3 weeks ago in Fort Myers, and we did an event, and the room was filled with all people I knew from New York. Some of them I hadn't seen in 25 years, retired cops. Some of them had just retired down there recently from C-suite jobs. So here were these millionaires and retired cops all descending on the same cigar bar in Fort Myers to come and enjoy a Ferio Tego. It was just such a great reminder on how powerful this is and how powerful relationships are, and that even in a place far away from where I live, just by virtue of the fact that I was there and the brand was there, it pulled all these people together in one place, and all of them met each other, and now they all hang out together, and there's something very magical about it. And it happens in music, and it happens in cigars, and it happens in a few other things, but very, very few things can even out the the social stratus range to such an even level.
Well, and it happens in church too. I had
Of course it does.
We had a new pastor where I attend, and he's a former Navy chaplain, lovely guy, farm boy from North Dakota, and he came in and he's like, well, it's looking kind of sparse around here. Maybe we should just welcome people where they are. Come as you are was the theme of his whole approach. And we went from a old, stodgy, upper middle class church feel to screaming children and full pews and singing like you haven't heard singing in years in that cave.
And part of that evolution also means that there are people who liked the old way who will find another place.
Well, it's actually it's interesting that you say
Meaning
that.
it can happen.
Well, we thought there'd be some people fall away from that, but what we found more were these older people coming over and saying to because our choir is anything but brilliant. What we lack in capability, we make up for in enthusiasm. But they'd come over and after Mass and they'd say, hey, this is, there's something going on here.
But it goes beyond the human intelligence and understanding, because what they're describing is something that they can't describe in words and they can't necessarily understand, but it's something that they feel. And whether it's spiritually, whether it's love and affection for family, when you have that emotion that moves you in a way that you can't describe, but you know how it feels, that's when you know that it's real, and you have to keep trusting that you're moving in the right direction. And whether that is, even on a personal level, religion and spirituality, my family, the business, it is a lot to juggle. But then when you take a step back and you just kind of take stock of the blessings, the health and the growth and the of all of it, family, business, you just have to trust that there's something greater working and pushing you in this direction, and you just have to trust that as the paths open up.
Well, and there's an interesting ethic in the cigar industry of people going out of their way to make strangers friends or make people feel comfortable and give them an opportunity to belong. I think you were the beneficiary of that at a young age. You have a lot of old friends in this business. You probably have an unusually large number of old friends because you've become kind of a bridge between a generation.
It's one of my, I feel so fortunate that my largest friend group and social group, my closest relationships are with the generation before me, and yet I'm connected in age as a contemporary to my generation and the generation after me. And so to have had a generation head start, and to have it be the generation that didn't have these, it required their open heart and generosity with their time and their knowledge and their patience, that some little gringo from Connecticut,
You're old enough to remember mixtapes, when we used to share mixtapes where people would,
of course,
right? So
absolutely,
that was a standard deal,
yeah.
And I don't know how kids do it now.
I don't either. They send them a playlist, maybe,
I suppose, but was such a connection. I think about this in terms of the redeeming factor in all of these experiences in the cigar industry for me has been connection. The stories, the history, the lore.
But that mixtape was meant to be it was meant to be symbolic of your personality. you would say, these are 10 of my favorite songs. But they were typically not like 10 songs by Rage Against the Machine.
Right.
It was 10 songs, could be a ballad, could be a rap thing. It was meant to be diverse, to sort of represent the range of your character, right? That was really what the idea of a mixtape was. And when I look at the Ferio Tego portfolio, it very much is a mixtape. I mean, we have Metropolitan, Old World, Nostalgic, Mellow, Easy. You have Timeless, more nuanced, a little more complex, more countries of origin. Then you look at Ferio Tego. It's the newest songs in our discography, and those are much more nuanced and much more complex, much more focused in their intention. When you look at the entirety of our portfolio, it really is it's the mixtape of my career.
Well, it's intriguing because when you're talking about Metropolitan, I'm thinking Sinatra. And when you're talking about Ferio Tego, now I'm suddenly into this jazz trip.
Yeah.
Because this has opened up. I mean, it started out beautifully. But even within the first third, it went to a place where I felt my shoulders come down. I mean, I'm excited about talking to you. I love talking to you. I love the fact that Boveda gets to tell the story of legacy and connection and love in an industry that's all about passion, and it's all about marking time, valuing the moments that we get. The fact that you become a part of our For My Humidor collection is huge for us and such a privilege for us.
This is no joke. It says, for my humidor, I use Boveda. It should say for my humidors, I use Boveda.
You have more than one humidor?
I have so many vessels I can't describe, and 100% of them, with no exaggeration, are Boveda. And let me tell you, as a guy with 26 years in the business, and with an unfair level of nostalgia, right, which maybe comes from the artistic side, the collection is never decreasing, because you hold on to the old stuff because it's meaningful to you. It may not be meaningful to anyone else, but I look at samples and old boxes and things, even things that I collected as a kid when I first started, 18, 19 years old. I have cigars that Carlito gave me when I first met him, cigars that George Padron gave me when I first met him. I have cigars from brands that no longer exist. I have cigars that were gifts from people who have passed away. I have all these cigars that I look at and I treasure because each one is a story, and every single one of them, without exaggeration, is protected by Boveda. Every single one.
I didn't want to thank you. I didn't need to elicit a commercial, but thank you.
It's a fact. I don't know how I could travel as much as I do and leave my house and trust that everything is safe without knowing that Boveda works.
What you identified in that description was each one of those cigars that you got from those iconic names each one's a memorial to generosity.
That's the artist, winemaker, chef, painter, songwriter, cigar maker. We're doing the work for us, but it's worthless without an audience to share it with. That's not to say that you make it for the audience. That's a different intention. You make it for you. It's your.
That's why we call it your muse.
Yeah, it's where you are in the moment. But then, without the validation of enjoyment from other people, then you don't know if you've really achieved what you sought out to achieve. And by the same token, when you reach the level where people are enjoying your work, it's such a rewarding and fulfilling moment, and yet it's so easy to have the balloon popped by the one person who doesn't like it. And it's not to say that the art is bad, right? If I don't like punk music, I can't claim whether that band is good or bad. But if I say I don't like it, it really does hurt the artist.
Right.
You know, but what you said was it's symbolic of generosity, and that really goes both ways, because it's also very generous for consumers to consume art. It's very generous. You're spending money on something that's not necessary, but it's necessary for your soul. It's bringing you something too. And so to me, there is a reciprocal generosity within art, whether it's in a restaurant, at a bar, drinking someone's wine, tasting someone's spirit, eating someone's food, smoking someone's cigar. There is a reciprocal generosity, gratitude, appreciation of that consumer and artist that's happening in the moment of consumption. And particularly, let's say, not in the evergreen art like fine arts, but in consumable art, live music, cigars, wine, food. That exact moment only lasts as long as it lasts. And then even when you consume it again, the moment is different. And that's, to me, that's such a beautiful thing, that when this is over, this one's over. And we can smoke it again and have a great time. But the moment and this conversation is done.
More. We should do this at a later time. I want to put you on the spot. I think we've known each other and we've discussed enough to where I qualify to have your cell phone in my phone. So before you leave, I want to take your cell phone. I won't share it with anybody, I promise.
You should have it.
I should have it. I don't have it. I DM you on Instagram.
Oh, well, we'll fix that.
But we'll fix that. And my reason is, I told you earlier, I've got a retailer where I spend a significant amount of time. Love these guys, Mike and Todd from Cigar Jones in Minnetonka. Boveda's headquarters used to be in the basement of the building.
Right.
Okay. So I want to, if possible, capture a conversation between you and them talking about the Ferio Tego line for their store. If I can put that together while they're here. I'd love to see that. I think it would be incredibly interesting. There's a lot of assumptions people make about retailers, about why don't they just carry everything? What's it like to sit there during the doldrums of winter when there's nobody walking in the door? All the things that you've been through as in your retail experience. Yeah. And what are the pain points for the brand? And how do we convert those live experiences? One person sharing with another person, you got to try this cigar.
A lot of times you hear this notion that something is dead, or it didn't work, didn't catch on. You hear it in music, you hear it in restaurants, you hear it just didn't catch on. It didn't, or the opposite is true. Man, it took off and it's on fire. Very rarely is it a result of bad work. It's a result of effort.
Right.
And the effort is the full cycle of effort. The consumer, in our case, the consumer, the retailer, the manufacturer, all have to be rowing in the same direction, and all have to agree together that, particularly in the early moments, that you're gonna row harder for each other. And when you have that level of reciprocal support and confidence that it's worth the effort today, then these things win. And it's only in the moment where your arms get tired and you stop rowing for a while, might you get the notion that, well, it's slowed down. It hasn't slowed down. You're just not rowing anymore, you know? And so that's not casting any dispersions, because as a retailer, there were certainly times where I brought in a brand, right, and we would all be rowing together, but at some point a consumer starts rowing for a different brand. And so is it my job as a retailer to try and get them back on that boat to row for this brand, or do I jump on their boat and row in a different brand? And that's just the way it is. And so particularly when you're talking about bringing a brand in for the first time, the first question is to look at the boat and see if it's moving on its own. And then you have to ask yourself, am I willing to row or not? We have been very fortunate that we had people in our boat rowing before we had water under the boat. And
You had the boat on the trailer. It wasn't even in the water yet.
We were on dry land, bro. We didn't have the trailer yet. We had the boat, and we had the oars, and we had seats, and we had people who were willing to hold those oars and get in the boat and just start practicing. Then we got a trailer. Then we got water.
Wow.
Now, that evolves.
What you've put out is exceptional. I mean, there's nothing.
But now the job is easier for a retailer today than it was in 2021, because now we're already in the water and enough people are rowing that if you have not brought in Ferio Tego yet, terrific. The time wasn't right for you, but the time is definitely right today because the boat is going.
This is exquisite.
I'm so glad you like it.
Dude, I went crazy on the one you brought last year, was the
Elegancia.
I'm excited about what's happening for Ferio Tego. I'm thrilled with the way the friendship that you've had with Sean and Tim over the years has blossomed into this opportunity for us all to jump on your bandwagon and be a part of your ambassadorship to the entire industry, bringing people together, creating connection, generating energy about a passion. You know, it's really a privilege.
Well, it's mine. Let's just keep. This is no different. We're all rowing in the same direction for each other, and I'm always grateful to Sean and Tim. I'm grateful to you and everyone's time, and even the people who bother to watch this. You know, you can always not, and the fact that you do is meaningful.
And we're live casting from the PCA in New Orleans. We're going to cut some of this up, make some social out of it. It'll be great fun. We'll get Matt involved, and he'll do his magic. And just can't thank you enough, Michael.
Likewise, we're going to do this again next year. The first interview,
you are the
2026.
Batter, the top of the first inning, now batting. Michael.
I love
Herklots. Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate you.